Oh, hello, Kristof.
Hello, Lucas.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Yes, I'm really happy to have you on here because we have quite a special edition today of this interview series.
Thank
Because I
you.
wanted to invite you to talk a bit about your recent encuentro milonguero here in the Netherlands in Amersfoort, um, which was held a week ago, so it's still quite fresh. And yeah, I'd like to get some insider information on how this yeah, the whole process behind it, because I think that might be very interesting for people to
Yes, maybe. Yes.
understand a bit about yeah, how this how it's nice having an event and just be there as a guest, but then actually as an organizer you have to do a ton of things, and people cannot
Yes.
even imagine how much responsibility that is. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So, can you first tell me, talk for people who don't know you, can you maybe talk a bit about your background in tango, and also of that of Maria, who couldn't be here today, but that would be a good start.
Yes. Yes, Maria is my wife. She's the co-organizer of the encuentro. Um, we have both been dancing. Maria's been dancing much longer than I have, and I think it's a very normal question for people to ask, "How long have you been dancing?" But um, we always feel like it's irrelevant to ask people, "How long have you been dancing?" Because you dance with them and then you think it's a good dance or it's not a good dance, and maybe next year you'll try again, or maybe next month. But some people, I mean, especially when I started out in tango, I was very, 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 very crazy about tango. So I would dance almost 40 hours a week,
Hmm.
and I would take every lesson that I could get, and I would go to lots of small milongas, big milongas, wherever I would find myself going to in the weekend. So, and then there's other people, and it's totally fine, but they've been dancing for 4 years, and all they've done is take lessons. So that's basically 1 hour a week. So there's the question of how long have you been dancing? I think is quite irrelevant. It's just dance with people and find out if you like to dance with them or not. When I had been dancing for I think 2 years, like shortly before the lockdown started, I took up tango DJing. I've always been interested in tango music from the moment I started to listen to it and heard it in the milongas. I was like, yeah, it's quite interesting because it's like in Dutch you would say probably lichtklassiek, like it's light classical music because it has lots of classical influences and it has pop structures, so pop song structures. Um, Yeah, so I was very interested in also because I am sort of a musician myself. So I was also interested in the music from a musician point of view. So I started tango DJing. I think yeah, that's now three years ago. And then lockdown hit us, so we couldn't go anywhere. So I had lots of time to dive deep into the music and listen to lots of orchestras and get to know the music. And then basically since last year we've been organizing. We organize, me and Maria and two good friends of ours, Walter and Gerardo. We organize a monthly milonga here in Amersfoort. And well, last week we organized the first, or we had the first encuentro that we organized. So that's my background.
So you've been quite ambitious, quite ambitious.
Yes, yes. I usually tend to dive in head first when I experience new things and I'm really, really into it. Then I will really just spend a lot of time learning about it and trying to get as good as I can.
Yes, yes. Um, and maybe also so your wife. Um, so How did you meet her? How?
My wife and me, so that's a very good question because lots of people want to know. My wife and me, we met in Albuquerque, and we have some time, right? So I will tell you the whole story of how I got to Albuquerque and how we got to meet. I think when I had been dancing for 2 years, I went to an event in Nijmegen, which is called Summer Days, and which is somewhere in August. It's a week of tango in different places in Nijmegen. Small cafes, I think in some restaurants. There was a milonga, and of course at El Corte, and I think Flor de Fango also had a milonga during that week. Anyway, I went to that week, that event, and I met a woman and a man from the US named Kip and Phil. And we started talking almost immediately, and we got a friendship connection. So we got to talking, and at the end of the week, Kip told me, "Oh, if you ever want to come to Albuquerque, we have a really big event, one of the biggest events in the tango events in the U.S. So if you ever want to come over, just give me a call or write me, and we'll work something out." And a year later, I was thinking, oh, maybe I should go to Albuquerque. Maybe it would be fun to go to Albuquerque. And so I wrote them, and to my surprise, they actually wrote back and said, "Oh, well, you're welcome to stay in our house, and we will host you." And because lots of people say, "Oh, if you're ever around in Italy or Germany, just text us, and we will see what we can do." And usually the answer is, "Oh, we're kind of busy this week," or "We're out of town." And but they were immediately very, very hospitable, and they invited me over. So I went to Albuquerque to dance at the Albuquerque Tango Festival. And on the second day of the festival, I danced with Maria, and it was a really great dance, and we had a super good connection. And she told me she was from Honolulu, and I was a little bit stupid, so I thought like, hey, she's from Honolulu, so let's take a chance. And I asked her out for dinner, and she couldn't make it for dinner. And but anyway, we got together a little while later, and yeah, we've been a couple since.
Yeah, I also asked because it's kind of important for talking about the encuentro, because the encuentro is not just a project of you, but it's a project of Maria as well, and you did it
Yes.
together. And I think a lot of people who went there will also have met you and Maria as a couple, so it's very
Yes.
logical to involve her a bit as well in that sense. Um, so that's very interesting. So how did you come up with the idea of organizing an encuentro in the first place?
Oh, me and Maria, we have been going to events for quite some time now. Um, we would go to events in Italy, France. We've been to Spain. Obviously, some events in the US. And again, before lockdown, we were walking around Amersfoort, and it was end of September, I think, beginning of October. And if you've ever been to Amersfoort and you've walked around sometime in the evening, late summer, then you know how beautiful it can be. There's all the little canals and the medieval buildings, and it's a very nice old inner city. And we were walking around there, and we were thinking like, it would be nice if all of our friends could come here and experience the beauty of Amersfoort. And since we're a tango couple, and most of our friends are in tango these days, we thought, why not organize an event right here in Amersfoort? Because it's accessible. If you come here by plane, it's only a 40-minute train ride from Schiphol, and it's a direct connection. If you come from Germany, there's a direct connection to Frankfurt, and there's a direct connection to Berlin, and it's easily accessible with just by the A28 highway. So we thought, yeah, it may be a good idea to do that. And that's when the idea was conceived, and we sort of slowly started to plan. And then, of course, COVID hit, so we couldn't do anything for 2 years. So, but that's how it started. Basically, because we love Amersfoort and we love tango.
And is there any type of encuentro that really inspired you? Because you were talking about that you were going to events in different countries.
Yes. Of course, we've been inspired by other events because lots of things in tango, but also in other life. I call it standing on the shoulders of giants. You can only achieve something because other people achieved really great things before you. That goes for science or computer science or mathematics, but it also goes for encuentros and DJing and everything. So yeah, if I have to name a few encuentros or events that I really like, there's one in Belgium which is pretty big. It's La Boca in Antwerp. It's
Hmm.
for about, they usually have 250 to 300 people, and the atmosphere and the location is just really great, and it's a testament to, with just the right touch. If you have the right touch, you can turn a old warehouse into a beautiful tango location, because that's basically what it is. It's on in the Schelde Harbor, and it's an old warehouse. It's really, really just a big concrete building, and they turn it into a magnificent place with places to sit and a very nice dance floor and even really, really big chandeliers. So yeah, and another one I think is also in Antwerp. It's a Warm Embrace from Angelo Briccone, and that one we like because it's a small event and because it has a very good feeling to it. Because the people that are there, because it's a small encuentro, so you sort of have to get along with each other. So that's what I very like, but also inspired by lots of Italian encuentros because the Italians have a lot of encuentros. They have, I think, 2 or 3 encuentros every week somewhere in Italy. And what I liked from the Italian encuentros is also the atmosphere, the way you talk to people, and the DJs they have. Because I think DJs in Italy play different music than DJs in Belgium or in Netherlands.
Okay.
No. Yes, uh, I think all the encuentros we went to were inspiration for us, and some were inspiration for things we should avoid,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
some of them were inspirations for things we should add to our own encuentros. So yeah,
So
definitely taking hints from other encuentros.
yes. And then there's the question like, why are you fan of encuentros in general? And then maybe can you tell us also a bit about your own dance style originally? Like how did you get into encuentro, something like that? Because that's also important for organizing an event like this.
Yes,
You have to
yes.
like it.
So when I started dancing, that was 5 or 6 years ago. Everything was, of course, a close embrace. I mean, if you started dancing in the 90s, it was very different from when you start dancing 5 or 6 years ago. So I sort of immediately got into the close embrace thing. And then I met some teachers named Carlos and Claudia. They're based in Amsterdam, but they also teach in Amersfoort. And they are, let's say, hardcore milonguero teachers. So it is a way of dancing that I really, really liked very much because of the connection you can make with the other person. And I know all of this is very personal, right? But I felt like if I dance milonguero with somebody, it's the connection is much better, and a style of leading that I prefer, and so it's all personal preference. And when I first started going to encuentros, I immediately liked the fact that most of the encuentros offer. It's hard to say this in a politically correct way, but I would call it a safer way to dance because people are more socially aware. The floor craft is usually higher, which means you dance with respect for the other people, and the other people dance with respect for you. And what it actually turns into is that you have a small bubble that you and your partner can dance in, build up your connection, and dance the dance that you want to dance without being hindered by others. I mean, of course, the guy in front of you takes away some of your freedom to move ahead, but it also means that the guy behind you doesn't come too close to you or starts hitting you. And that is one of the things that I like in encuentros is the fact that it's like there's a lot of respect and the floor craft is really high, so it allows you to dance more closely with your partner. I think that's what I like. The other thing I like very much about encuentros is because I've also visited lots of marathons and even a few festivals. Is in general, I think the music style is different, and it also depends. I mean, it's like regional too, but I find in encuentros there's more focus on the golden age of tango. So between 30 and 50, and yeah, that's really the era I prefer, between 30 and 50.
Yes.
So I think those things together make that me and Maria, we both like encuentros very much.
Okay. Okay. Um, so, and how did you decide to actually take the leap and organize one yourself?
Oh yeah, the minute we talked about it, I was ready to go. Because that's how I am. I told you I'm always a little bit stupid and I dive in head first. So the minute we talked about the encuentro, I was immediately very enthused, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do this." Um, and my wife Maria, she's a little bit more sensible. She's more, I think she's probably a lot more sensible than I am.
Yeah.
And she would go like, "Yeah, let's think about it. Let's do it slowly. Let's not announce anything, but let's just take things slowly." So that's what we did basically. We slowly started making a list of things we needed. We needed a venue, we needed DJs. Um, yeah. So the exact moment we decided to do it, I think that's really hard to pinpoint because we sort of got into it and we started researching things. And at a certain point, of course, we said, "Oh, let's do this because we've got everything we need." Um, but I think that really took us like because there was COVID in between, so we couldn't do anything, not all the things we wanted. I think it took us 2 or 3 years. I think 2 years to actually get everything together. Yeah.
But that's mostly because of COVID, I would say.
Part of it was because of COVID, yes, yes, but I think COVID also helped us because it gave us more time to organize the first edition
Okay.
because it allowed us to be more relaxed and I mean some aspects of the of organizing the encuentro were really hard. So and we needed those 2 years to actually achieve that. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's hard for a lot of people to imagine because, like, on paper, it's just like, yeah, I'm going to organize an event and I can do it next week. But I mean, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't really work like that because the things that we struggled most with was finding the right venue, right? Because you need to have a place that um, is comfortable for people, can hold upwards of 100 people, and it has to have a certain atmosphere. It has to have this ambience. I don't think you can do tango or have an encuentro just anywhere because the location really matters. If anything, I've learned from all the encuentros I've been to is that I think most of the vibe of the encuentro is actually the so the venue is a big part of the vibe of the encuentro. I think the location and the place. Like I said, if you go to La Boca in Antwerp, it's basically a big bunker, but the potential is high. And it was a little bit difficult to find the correct venue in Amersfoort because most of the really, really, really nice venues, and I'm talking about medieval churches, medieval buildings, they are in the inner city of Amersfoort, and the inner city of Amersfoort has a very strict uh, policy on how long and how loud you can have events there. And almost all of them are aimed at, let's say, daytime or early evening events, and mostly are catered or aimed at things like classical concerts or acoustic concerts. So when you get there and you say, "Oh, we would like to come and dance Latin American dance and have DJs," they already think that we're going to tear down the place and have loud music, which, in all honesty, I don't think we do in general. So, but it's something that was a big problem for lots of people that hold venues. The other thing is that most of the venues in Amersfoort are owned by corporations. So they're being exploited by corporations or run by corporations, which means even if they have the right conditions for an encuentro, they can be very, very, very expensive.
Hmm.
I'm talking upwards of 2,000 euros for one day.
Okay.
So if you then go, or that's not even a day, that's like a part of a day. So it's very expensive. So yeah. And the other thing that was actually it was really easy to find the DJs because we had a number of DJs in mind, and maybe because it was COVID and lockdown and they didn't have anything in their calendar, they were all available. So that was really nice. Yeah, but I think the venue is the thing that really, really took us 2 years to find.
Yes. So how did you actually find it?
The funny thing is, we went to have lunch. We went out and we went to have lunch at a place that we've never been before. And actually, I went there because I heard that one of my neighbors, somebody who lives in the street I live in, he runs the place. So I told Maria like, oh, we can always go there and let's try lunch over at that place. So we went over to have lunch, and then we found out he has an event space at the cafe. And we looked at it, and it had a nice hard wooden floor. And yeah, and so we were like, oh, wow, this looks pretty good. And so at the time, um, Walter and Gerardo, they were also thinking about maybe starting an event, and I don't think I don't know what their plans right now are, but they didn't organize anything yet. But they were also looking for a space. So I told them, listen, we found a space at the Eemplein in Amersfoort, which is almost city center. Um, you guys should come and have a look. And then we went over and had a look at it, and we had a talk with the owner, who is actually my neighbor. So yeah, and the price was right, I think, and the we had high hopes for the venue because it looked very, 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 very attractive. Um, it's not easy to find a place in Amersfoort with a hard wooden floor. and it's not easy to find a place in Amersfoort that has the right vibe. I mean, there was some other place that said maybe you can guys can come here, but it didn't have a hardwood floor, and it was basically a completely rundown venue.
Oh.
So that wasn't really an option. So yeah, and then Walter and Gerardo actually had the brilliant idea because we were like, we don't know if the floor is going to be any good. We would actually have to dance there. We don't know how the sound is because the venue also comes with a built-in sound system. Um, so we were like, yeah, it would be nice because it's got a built-in sound system. So maybe we can just use a sound system. It would save us a few €100 if we don't have to rent a sound system. And then Walter and Gerardo had a great idea. Like, yeah, well, if we're interested in the venue, why don't we do a one-off milonga there
Mm.
and get some people together, get a DJ in, and see if people like the venue. And that was basically how our regular monthly milonga started. Because when we did the milonga, the test milonga actually, it went really well, and lots of people came, and they were all very happy about the venue and about a new event in Amersfoort. So we decided to do it to turn it into a monthly milonga, and that also helped us to actually get organized for the encuentro because we got to know the space really well, and we knew what was possible and what wasn't possible. So yeah, that really helped us. But if you want to know what took the longest, it was finding the right venue.
Okay. Okay. This was ultimately the venue where you held the event.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, so what other aspects are there of the preparation work? So there's finding a venue, and I think you were also talking about something else which was a bit easier. Yeah, the DJs because they
The
all had
DJs were
clear. Yeah.
surprisingly easy because the DJs that we wanted, that we both wanted, they were all available. Um, so we got the DJs we wanted. Other aspects of organizing it are all the catering, getting all the food together, and dealing with people with allergies. Um, because we knew we wanted to offer a communal dinner. Uh, Optional for people because it would be the price would be extra, and the reason why we thought like let's
Every day or once?
not just once on
Oh,
Saturday
just one.
evening.
Okay. Okay.
On Saturday
Saturday evening.
evening,
Okay.
yes. Um, because what we wanted for the encuentro was for people to come together, and we wanted to put people together that were at the same dance level, but also at the same social level. And we thought a dinner will really contribute to that because people will be sitting together for about an hour without dancing, so they can talk about anything they want. And we always thought it was very interesting to go to have events with communal dinners or communal eating because you would talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to, and I mean you're stuck with them for an hour, so you're talking to them for an hour, so you get to know each other a lot better. So it helps with making connections off the dance floor with other people.
But
Yeah.
are you referring to events that continuously have these communal events, or just once? Or
No, most of them will have 1 or 2 evenings where you can eat
okay,
together. There's one event, a very nice event run by Elsa Boombly, who is a very nice person, and she runs an event in Riva del Garda. And you're staying at the hotel, and you're all coming together, and it's you all have dinner at the same time. And like I said, it's also optional, but most of people choose to um, go to the dinner in the evening, and it's really interesting because you meet people that you would never meet because you sort of, I mean, you arrive and we are only one couple, right? And then there's other couples, and there's 4 or 6 people to a table, So they just say, "Oh, that table's available." You sit down with people you've never known, and you talk, and then you make a new connection or you make a new friend
Okay.
during that moment.
Okay. Um, so I think so. You said you have a lot of like wild ideas in general, and
Yes.
then your wife actually helps you calm down a little bit. So how did that work with the preparation? Is there something like she really contributed to?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, um, I used to play guitar before, and I'm a little bit into audio equipment. But I have a friend who is really into high-end audio equipment, and the reason why I'm talking about this is all these people that are into, let's say, expensive or extraordinary gear. They all know about the WAF, which is the wife acceptance factor. Is whenever um, you're thinking about getting a new piece of equipment, you have to talk to your wife, and your wife has to agree with it because, I mean, you both live in the same house and you're a couple, so all the decisions are mutual. And I think the same thing goes for some of the wild ideas I had for the encuentro. I won't name any of them, but I mean, some of the things I said were, "Oh wow, wouldn't it be great if we did this?" And it's a completely crazy off the wall idea. And then Maria would be, "Are you really sure about this? What's the price on this? And are people really going to like it?" And I'd be like, yeah. So she's like, yeah, she's like the more sensible person in the relationship, I think.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you're a
But
good team, I think.
we are a very good team. I mean, she also comes with really great ideas, and I can be very stubborn, but um, yeah, I've learned to listen to her. So yeah, and I think it's yeah. I like to say because I'm the only one in the interview right now, but what we organized is really the result of the product of our mutual efforts.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see everything that goes into organizing an event like this. Um, it's
Yes, I
just
mean one of the stress points at the was like we needed to buy snacks like chips and cookies and bananas. But I mean, I have no idea how much 100 people eat.
yes,
So you're standing in the supermarket and like, how much should we buy?
yeah.
And
It's
I'm
also
a guy
just
that,
to give some context. Like it's like really the first time you organize this, so you have no
yes,
idea how to what to expect about it, even though
it's
you
the
have
first
seen
time
some
you
other
organize this.
encuentros.
You've
But
never had 100
yeah,
people. I mean, maybe you've had Christmas dinner for 6 people. But so you're loading things into your cart and you're looking at the cart and you're like, the one moment you're going, this is way too much. And the second moment you're going, do we have enough? Maybe we need 3 packs of bananas more. So it's really, so in the end we said, okay, we're going to buy something that we think is reasonable. If we have too much, we will give it away. If we don't have enough, we can always run to the supermarket on Saturday morning or Sunday morning and get whatever we miss.
so due to time constraints, I have to move on to the next topic, which also has to do with
Yes.
preparation, but it's more like actually the week before. Well, you just hinted at that with bananas, but
Yes.
um, like it's crazy. Like there's only 1 week to go, and you haven't organized this before, and there's 100 people coming to your little party. What happens?
Yes. So what happens is, like I think up to 10 days before, because we've had 3 years to prepare. So up to 10 days before, we were both like, "Oh, we got this. We are 100% or 90% in control." And then things come nearer, and you start doubting yourself, and uh, yeah, you start thinking like, "Are we really in control?" And you start doubting the number of snacks you bought, and yeah, there's a little anxiety setting in, and I don't think it's really panic, but it's like anxiety, and it's also very fun because it feels like the night before Christmas. You
Mm.
know something really great is gonna happen, and you don't know what you're gonna get, and but you're assuming it will be good. So yeah, and I'm the kind of guy that as the event comes nearer, I would sit up at night and go over all the things in my head, like if people come in, what do we have to give them, and how do we organize this? Does this table have to be here, or does the table have to be there? And so basically, it resulted in us um, getting to the venue on Friday way too early. We got there at 11, I think, and we started setting up, and we were basically done by 3. So we were like, okay, what do we do now? Because we got 4 hours left. So basically, we went home for a while and took a short nap because we really needed that. But yeah, I think the week before the event is really yeah. I think it's stress is the right word. It causes a lot of stress, but it also um, yeah, like I said, part of that is the stress or the anxiety you get from the night before Christmas. So it's also a good kind of stress.
There were not any like unexpected problems or something, apart from the amount of cookies.
I probably suspect there were a little unexpected problems. Well, one of the biggest problems was how much chairs do we need to put into the dance space? Because the nature of the venue is such that basically you have a dance space and then you have an outside space, or a space which is outside of the dance space. So every chair you put into the dance space takes away from the dance space, but you still want people to be able to sit down and cabaseo. So I think that was one of the big discussions we had on Friday. Um, like, are we going to put in 1 rows or 2 rows of seats, or maybe 3 rows? And in the end, we picked something, and yeah, it didn't work out really well, but Maria really solved it like a master, and she solved it halfway through, and everybody was happy about it. So yeah, so I think unexpected things. No, I don't think there were really major unexpected things that happened. So I think that's a good thing, right?
Yes, because I would personally, I've never organized something like that, but I would be a bit stressed like the week before. Like for example, how about the venue? Like, is it just gonna be available the way I think it's gonna be available? Like,
Yes, we definitely
life
had
can be
stress like that.
unpredictable, right?
We definitely had stress like that because our neighbor is a very friendly guy, but he was always like, "Ah, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." But me and Maria, we like to tie things down to the very detail. So we would be like, "Oh, but how is that going to be? How is that going to be?" And he'd be like, "It'll be okay." So it's also a sort of a lesson in letting go.
Yeah.
But yes, we definitely like to be very detailed about the way we organize things or the way we expect things to be, and that doesn't always work out. So then, yeah, like I said, it's also a lesson in letting go.
Yes. Let's talk about something that's very interesting about the Quendros, especially because you had a relatively small event, for example, compared
Yes.
to the Boca Encuentro you mentioned
Oh
before.
yes, yes, definitely.
So how do you select people and everything that goes into that? Because it's I imagine that it can be tough that you cannot accept any just everyone. So like
Yes,
it's a hard thing.
yes. So we had space for about 100 people, and we got, I think, over 250 applications. We were very surprised by the number of applications we got because after COVID, things were a little bit slow to pick up. And other organizers we knew, they were complaining about the fact that not enough people were signing up. So we were already very happy that we got lots more registrations or lots more applications than we actually needed. Um, and then the way you select people, it's what we knew we wanted to get people that danced in a certain way with respect for each other, like I said, and that will allow other people to dance the dance they want to dance, but everything within um, certain boundaries. So we would need people that understood that. So we would basically, I think, criterion one would be um, experience at encuentros. And that could be either because we knew them or we'd seen them before, or because they are friends of friends, or because they are very, on their Facebook it's full of encuentro pictures. So that is the first thing. The second thing that's a little bit more fluid or hard to grasp maybe is we wanted it to be a group of people that would be socially compatible. And by socially compatible, I mean a group of people which we thought would get along well. If you put them in this, because one of the issues was it's a small encuentro, it's only 100 people. Usually, if you go to an encuentro where there are is 250 or 300 people, there are more people at the encuentro than you can ever dance with. Even if you dance every tanda, you will not be able to dance with all the followers over there. But if you only have 100 people, and let's say the gender balance is perfect, then you have 50 followers for 50 leaders, which means you will have only 50 tandas. And if you have four milongas, then you will have like 12 and a half tandas, uh, 12 and a half followers per milonga. So, and you have more than 12 tandas in the milonga.
Yeah.
So you will have to dance with certain people again. So, and if you're not socially compatible with somebody, I know from experience, I mean, it's my experience, it may be harder to convince yourself to dance with somebody. So that's why we thought it was important to get 100 people together that would mingle well and get along well and be friendly to each other and feel like, oh, you're my friend, you're my friend, you're my friend. So that is another criterion we used, and basically that was based on um, people we met, or if you're a friend of a friend, or a friend of a friend of a friend, or if we see you in pictures with certain people. So yeah, I think those are the big criterions. It's one, it's um, dance style and floor craft, and the other one would be if we think you will perform well socially.
Okay. And I believe then you're also maybe mixing some existing circles of people because
Yes, because um, Maria and me, we go or we try to go to a lot of events, and we go to events in Northern Europe, in Eastern Europe, well, not Eastern Europe, and we go to lots of events in Italy, so you meet a lot of people. And what I've experienced is there are, I would say, 3 to 4 groups of people that go to encuentros, and they all have their own very preference of the encuentros they go to. And I think part of it is also because of the social circle they are in, right? And for some reason, we know a lot of people in each of those groups, and we know them pretty well, or we're friendly with them, and so we try to bring a number of people from those groups together so they could get to know each other. Because apart from all the dancing, I will stress again that we think that the social aspect is also very important. So it's always very nice to, if you go to an encuentro, that you make new friends, you meet new people, and yeah, I think that we did succeed very well in that department too.
Yes, because then it's not just another in crowd that
Yes,
but you get
yes,
it's almost like you force people to mix.
yes. I mean, people have to mix because it's like I said, it's only 100 people, so you're gonna have to talk to each other.
But do you think that at a bigger event there would be more like a kind of separation of groups?
Yes, I think at a bigger event you are inclined to stick more to the people you know.
Okay.
It's like if you and your friend go to a new school when you were 12 or 14 or 16 years old, and you and your friend have to go to a new school, you will stick to your friend, especially in the beginning. I mean, you'll try to do things together, right? You're not going to go and there's my friend and you just walk out and you say, hey, shall we have lunch together? Or can I copy your homework? It's, yeah, I mean, um, you will stick to the people you know, and especially at a bigger event. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, now it's time for a bit more of an open-ended subject, and it's also very specific to this new style of interview about an
Hmm.
event. But how did it go?
How
What
did it
happened?
go? It went fantastic. Um, we were both very surprised at the um, how easy things went, and I think part of that is due to the fact that me and Maria are meticulous planners, so we really, really like to pin down all the details and be in control. But once the event gets going, there's very little you can do about it because we're only two people, and there's no way we can really control a crowd of 100 people, right? Um, but it went really fantastic. The people loved the venue like we hoped they would. Um, like I said, Maria managed the chairs halfway through the first milonga. She reshuffled the chairs in such a way that people were people didn't notice, but you could tell that they were happier about the dance space. Um, yeah, people talked to each other much more than we expected to, and as you would expect, the first evening was a little bit less mingling because the first evening is always like, oh, dancing with people you haven't seen in a long time, or dancing with people you know, or dancing with people you know you like to dance with. But as soon as Saturday afternoon milonga came along, people started mingling, and uh, that resulted in
Sorry,
lots
which
of happy.
afternoon?
Sorry,
Which afternoon?
Saturday afternoon. So
Saturday.
the
Okay.
second milonga,
Yes.
you could tell that people started to mingle more, dance with people they hadn't danced with
So there
before,
was
and
nothing on Thursday.
there was a pre-milonga on Thursday.
Okay. But you weren't
Yes,
referring to first Milonga, you were referring to the Friday
I
evening.
was referring to Friday. Yes. So in the
Okay.
event we had a pre-milonga and a post-milonga, and we had four actual milongas: one on Friday evening, one on Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, and then one on Sunday
Okay.
afternoon. And maybe this is a good moment to talk about shortly, since it's an open-ended question,
Yes, yes, you can choose. Yeah.
about the pre-milonga and the post-milonga, because as long as I have been dancing tango here in Amersfoort, um, one of the driving forces behind tango here in Amersfoort is Karin Venverlo. And she's the owner of the Danswerkplaats, and she's also the organizer of the monthly La Rocca Milonga in Amersfoort, which is very well known in the Netherlands. And so when we started organizing, we thought it was very important to involve Karin in the, well, not as much in the organization, but at least get her opinion and ask her if she's okay with the fact that we are organizing something here. Um, I think there's nothing worse than people going and organizing something in an area or in a region where an other couple or other couples or other people have been prominently organizing things.
Hmm.
Um, to me, that would feel disrespectful. And we really like Karen, and Karen is a really hardworking woman who really organizes lots of things and who has a very, very big heart for the community. And that's why we went to Karen and we said, listen, Karen, um, we would like to do an encuentro. So the first thing we talked about her is um, we are thinking about such and such date. Is that okay with you? Because she has already she may have other plans, so she knows that we are planning something. And the other thing we asked her is, listen, could we ask you to organize a pre and a post milonga? And the reason why we asked her is because it was really easy for us, so we didn't have to organize the pre and the post milonga. And but it would still people would still have to go somewhere if they arrived a day early, and people would still have to go. People would still have somewhere to go if they stayed a day late. So and the other thing is people would go to Karen's place and get to know Karen's place. So yeah, and she agreed, and it worked out really, really, really well. I mean,
The post Milonga was on Monday then?
no, on Sunday evening.
Okay, Sunday evening. Okay.
Sunday evening, yes, yes, and yeah. And how did it go? I think the pre and post milongas were really great. Um, we had lots of people coming in, and lots of people outside of the encuentro. So you can tell that people are still, they recognize the fact that it's a special event, but they're also there to, and that's what we really want, is that they're also there to dance with people that are good dancers. And we hope that dancing with people that are good dancers inspire them to become better dancers themselves. So, yeah,
It's a bit of a community thing.
it's a community. I think tango is all about community. Yes.
Yes, maybe we can talk a bit more about that later. But so the event itself. So it
Yes.
started on Friday. And how did you feel on that day? Like how what was the
Oh,
feeling
like I
like to see the
said,
people arrive and to
yes,
welcome them? And
yes. I think one of the most stressful moments of the encuentro was when people started coming in, because we already um, decided that half an hour before the first milonga, we would open the doors so people could come and pre-register, so we wouldn't have to have everybody come in at once. But still, people showed up, and I think we did very well. But it was the first thing we had, and you have to welcome people and hug them and explain to them what they're getting, because they were getting a bracelet and a program card, and um, people would forget if they order dinner, and so we have to tell people, oh, you can still order dinner, but it's going to cost you a little bit more than usually, you know. So that was pretty stressful. And once that was gone, once everybody was in and we could sort of move away from the registration table, that's when we really settled down and started talking to our guests. And yeah, so, and at the end of Friday, we already had the feeling that it was going to be a success, because we saw happy faces, uh, mostly happy faces, and that's what you're going for. Um, yeah, so that was Friday. And then Saturday, our Saturday afternoon DJ was Kip Chinoweth,
Yeah,
or
that's the person you talked about in the beginning who
yes,
invited you to a
exactly,
festival. Yeah,
yes, Margaret or Kip. Um, she's a very nice person, and she's an incredibly good DJ. And she regularly DJs at the Tenerife Encuentro, organized by Alan and Susan, which are also very nice people. And so we invited Kip over and we said, "Hey, do you want to DJ at our event?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." So she came over, but the thing is, nobody knew her. So she was somebody that um, nobody knew. And at the end of her set, she got one of the longest ovations that I've ever seen at an encuentro or at a milonga. I think she got applauded for about 5 minutes. In the end, she got embarrassed because it kept going on and it kept going on, you know.
yeah, sure.
But I mean, she deserved every second and every bit of that because she really, as the kids say, she really killed it on Saturday afternoon. So yeah, and then we moved into Saturday evening. So sadly, our DJ for the Saturday evening had to cancel on relatively short notice because of personal reasons. And yeah, so after some discussion and some trying to make other arrangements, we decided that I would be DJing on Saturday evening in his place. Um, and that was a little bit of extra stress because I had to set up the DJ system, my DJ system. I had to sound check, but we also had dinner at the event, so I also had to eat and show people about the dinner and talk to the guy that was doing the catering. And the guy doing the catering was actually it's also the neighbor, and he was really outstanding because we had some people with allergies, and he cooked special things for all the people with allergies so they could have a decent dinner. But that
Nice.
also means he told me, "Oh, I have two special separate dishes for the people with allium allergies." But I had to go and find the two people with allium allergies and tell them they could go into the kitchen and get their dinner. So and then on top of that, I performed in a tango movie 2 years ago.
Yeah, you did everything.
I did everything. If I think it's a good idea, I'll do it. And yeah, so I acted in a tango movie in a short movie um, about 2 years ago, and that movie is doing all the short movie festival, and it's a whole circuit, and that means while it's in the circuit, it will not be publicly released. So, but lots of people knew I did the movie. People kept asking me, when can we see the movie? Where can we see the movie? Is it available online? So I then talked to the director um, prior to the encuentro, and I told him, "Do you think we can do a screening of your movie at the encuentro for a select audience, only the 100 people that are actually the guests of the encuentro?" And he said, "Yes, on one condition, I want to come over and talk to the people." So I said, "Yes, sure."
Really nice.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but it also meant I had to introduce him. I had to start a movie. It's a lot of extra stress, and
Together with the DJing. Yes.
then prior to the DJing, but then I got to DJ, and the minute I started the first standa, I forgot about all the rest. And like I said, Maria's a really great wife and a really great supporter, and she managed the entire encuentro while I was doing my thing at the DJ table. So yeah, and yeah, that's how it went. And then Sunday came, and Sunday was also a little bit hectic because we organized brunch for the guests.
Ah,
And the reason why we organized brunch for the guests is people have to leave their hotel by 12 usually.
okay.
But we cannot have an encuentro or after milonga from 12 to 7 because it's just too long, right? So we were like, what are we gonna do? Because we've been in this situation where you would go to an event and then at 12 you have to leave, and so for 2 or 3 hours you are wandering around the city with your little suitcase going and
Yeah.
it's not very pleasant for 3 hours. So we decided to offer them brunch, and so they could sit down, have a place to store the luggage, and that actually went very well. But at the meantime, I would have to be at our venue to sound check with the DJ. So yeah, that was a last bit of stress. And then after that, everything fell away. And on Sunday, people were expressing their gratitude and how happy they were with the venue and how happy they were with the event. So yeah, Sunday was the easiest day of all.
Well, it's like this standing on the shoulders of giants thing
Yes,
again. Like you, there have
yes,
been
absolutely. Because I
so many
mean,
events before, right? And now you also learned from something that they maybe should have done instead.
yes,
Or
absolutely. I mean, you can ask some organizer. We were taking pictures of the snack tables, for example, to discuss at home what we wanted, and yeah, it's really, and it's also standing on the shoulders of giants because of of the DJs, right? I mean, the DJs said yes, and they came and they made the event great. I mean, we just chose them, but they still had to do it, right? So,
yes,
I mean, they still had to perform and live up to the reputation. And even the guests, I think, are giants because I mean, um, it's a little bit crazy, of course, to put your money and your trust in a brand new event. I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's also not a lot of money.
yeah,
Um, I mean, everybody can know. We ask 130 euros per person for this event. So people have to trust you, and because they will send you 130 euro in advance, trusting that you are going to organize a good event.
yes,
So yeah, we are very grateful to the people that placed their trust in us and that said, okay, we think you're going to be good enough to organize an encuentro. So yeah,
yeah. They also need to book a hotel and a flight, and
yes,
if then they're
yes,
disappointed, then that's well, that can always happen. Of course, it does not necessarily depend on who's organizing, but
yes.
it's still a risk, a gamble.
It's always a risk, but yeah, I think it's incredible that we found that many people that were willing to take the risk. Yeah, absolutely.
Were you and Maria? It's something I'm really interested in. Like you said, well, at the beginning when you were when these people were walking in, you yeah, yeah, it's just like you could relax a bit afterwards. But what I also wonder in general, like, do you could you relax like at your own event, like for example, have a nice dance and just relax, or are you always in work mode?
Um, yes, we did have a few dances, but we didn't have a lot of dances, and I think most of it is work. Even if we had um, a bar crew, a professional crew, so we didn't have to worry about the snacks being refilled. They did a really good job, and we didn't have to worry about coffee and tea being refilled or anything. But it's still working because you gotta talk to people. I mean, I say gotta talk to people. You want to talk to people, right? Make sure and ask if they're doing well, get their feeling about the event, if there's things they're unhappy about. Um, yeah, I think it's you could call it work mode. It doesn't feel like that, but it's also not super relaxing, and it's also not like, oh, I'm gonna go dancing right now. So the advantage is there was two of us. So if one went dancing, it's no problem because there's always somebody else to pick up the slack. So that's not a problem. But yeah, we did lots of talking to people, and like I said, it was a very social event, and some people really commented on that, and they said like, "Oh, we're amazed because there's not lots of events where the organizers will come and talk to you, ask how you're doing,
Ah,
because lots of organizers will be too busy or they will be hiding in a room or whatever." But yeah, with like I said, we really wanted this to be a socially inclusive event,
yes, very
and I
nice.
think part of that is talking to people and getting to know how they're doing.
You need to be accessible.
Absolutely, I think that's very important. Yeah, yeah. I don't want
Yes.
to be the organizer that's just standing behind the bar or running away from people or yeah.
Okay. Okay. What did I want to ask? It's related. Um, yeah, I guess generally my favorite time is the Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
So can you maybe share a bit more about how you felt during that afternoon, especially with the music that was so good, apparently, like you
Yeah.
said. Like how did it feel to be there and be the organizer and look at your result?
Oh, it felt really amazing because, as I said, Saturday afternoon was the moment when people really started mingling. And when you saw people dancing with each other that I knew they never they never met before today, and I was really happy about that because that was what we tried to do, right? We tried to introduce people to other people, um, and it was the, I mean, Friday was a little bit stressed, but then Saturday afternoon was a lot more relaxed, and it gave us the opportunity to really look around and see how people were doing, and that the goal that we had to have people come to Amersfoort and not just get to know Amersfoort, but get to know other people as well.
Hmm.
Um, that really started happening, and that was very nice to see. Yeah, that was very nice to see. And I think I even got a few dances in. Maria got a few dances in. So, yeah, it was a really great. It was a really great afternoon. And like I said, people were pleasantly surprised by how well Kip DJ'd for them.
Okay, okay. So in general, what is the true satisfaction of being an organizer of an encuentro? Now you can look back and say that.
That's a good question because we asked each other the same question after it was over. We said, "What was the biggest? What would be the biggest reason to do this again?" Because I said everything went really smooth at the event and blah 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 blah, but it was still stress before and still a year of preparations and planning and getting everything together and entertaining people, making sure they don't forget about your encuentro in the meantime. And I think we both agreed that what probably the biggest reason to do it again is happy faces. To see all these people that you brought together and to see them happy and know that you've had a hand in that. You've sort of organized it, you orchestrated it, you managed to make people really happy for 3 days. And yeah, to us, that is the biggest reason to do it. And is there another reason to do it? Yeah, of course, there's the recognition you get from people because they're happy. But I think it's all consequences of people being happy because they're happy, they like you. But we don't really do it to be liked. We do it more to because we like making people happy.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
okay. So I think that's an interesting thing to discuss. Probably the last point, like what are the lessons that you learned? I mean, you touched a bit upon some of these things, but what things went really well? What things
Yeah.
can you still improve, or maybe even like, do you have any advice for other organizers if they're watching this and are interested in some feedback? I mean, not feedback on
Oh,
their events, but more like feedback on organizing an encuentro,
yes.
especially from someone who did it the first time, because that's the most uncertain thing you can do, right? It's the most
Yes.
awkward experience.
I think one of the things we learned is it's a lot more work than you think it is. Or I think it's about exactly the amount of work I think Maria thought it was, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more work than I thought it was. Um, I think with organizing the encuentro, it's the same as basically anything in life. If you start early enough, if you start planning and organizing early enough, then it will be easier. I think if we had started organizing and getting things together in the 3 last months, we would have been completely stressed and we would never do it again. So, but yeah, we sort of had the, let's say, luck of the lockdowns for 2 years,
Yes.
which means that between conception and realization, we had 2 extra years to work on the concept. And yeah, so it gave us extra time. I think maybe if we didn't have those 2 extra years, it may have been a lot of stress. But right now, I think we did a really good job, and the experience is that um, well, it takes a lot of planning. It's a lot of more work than you used to, but it's all worth it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a specific example of what is much more work than you think it would be? Like one practical topic. You might have already mentioned this before, but I cannot remember exactly like one thing that would stand out. For
Yeah,
example, if you had 6 months and not 2 years, what would be the difference?
oh, if I had 6 months and I had not 2 years, we would just have to stress lots much more. And like I said, over the
Venue, maybe.
sorry,
Venue.
yeah, the venue would have been a real big problem. I think if we would have only had 6 months, we would have to cancel because in the first 6 months we didn't come up with this venue. It was really just a stroke of luck finding this venue because when we started out, I had 3 or 4 venues in mind. And we went to all of these venues, and they were either too expensive, or we had to get out by 11, or we couldn't play anything over 70 decibels. And what was the other one? The other one was also too. The other one was basically didn't want anything to do with dance events at their location.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's a
that's
lot
a
of
good question.
unexpected
That's a
trouble.
good reminder because it's yeah. I think one of the most difficult things was finding the venue. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
It seemed so easy in advance.
It seems so easy because you go somewhere, you're like, oh, this is really nice. But I mean, in the city of Amersfoort, I think if you live in a bigger city like Rotterdam or Amsterdam, it may be easier because they have lots of more buildings and it's a bigger city. But here in Amersfoort, um, yeah, it was a tough. It was tough.
I'm really happy that you found a way to organize it your own city the way you wanted, because you wanted people
Yes,
to view the to be able to see the city as well. This town, instead of just um, being about the event. You also wanted them to
yes,
enjoy the location.
yes. One of the things that made us happy after the event is that lots of people started posting um, photos from Amersfoort on their Facebook timeline. And that made us happy because we thought, see, that's why we did it. People now also love Amersfoort and they've seen it and they think it's a nice, quaint little old city. And yeah, lots of people loved it. We even organized a guided city tour before the encuentro on Friday afternoon where people could just come and get a guided tour, and lots
Oh,
of
that's
people
nice.
also joined that.
Yeah, nice
Yeah.
details.
Yeah, well, you have to keep people entertained. Like I said, it's one of the things we learned, I think, from Boca because they also do it. They have a guided tour of Antwerp, like on Saturday morning.
Not like everyone, isn't everyone sleeping on Saturday morning or?
Apparently not, because
Okay, they don't really need a lot of sleep.
yeah,
Maybe
because
that's
I think like Boca, they have room for I think 30 or 40 people, and every year it's fully booked.
okay, okay, okay. So is there just one last little question? So possible that you already exhausted everything you want to say about it, but is there like one final thing you can tell prospective organizers of an encuentro what's really important? Something that you learned again. So like something that's really makes you the giant they can stand on. I mean the shoulders of a giant.
Yes. I think everything is important in organizing an encuentro, and I think that's what makes it really hard to do. Um, the venue has to be right, the music has to be right, and the people have to be right. And if you mess up any of those three um, items, I think people will probably not like your event very much.
Okay.
If they don't have anyone to dance with or they don't have any good connection, it's not going to be a big thing. If they have lots of people they like to dance with, but the floor is bad or the lighting is bad, so you cannot cabaseo anybody, um, it's not going to be a big thing. And of course, if the music is bad, we've all been there. If there's an evening where the music just doesn't talk to you, you're not inspired to dance, so it's not a big thing. So yeah, I think you have to. You could almost call it the holy trinity of of encuentro of organizing. It's the people, the venue, and the music.
I think what we especially learned from you is about the people, about how you make it a social event, and you
Yes,
might actually be innovating a bit in that regard. So you're not just organizing your own event, but you're also trying to improve on the formula in general. So
yes,
that's pretty
yes.
exciting. I think you're doing a really good job. So thank you for today.
Thank you much,
Uh,
very much, Lucas, for having me.
yes, it was very nice to hear the story from you, and even though I wasn't there because it was full, like I'm always late to the party, and then I noticed that events are full nowadays, even for men. So I guess
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yes,
but
yes,
it's I'm really happy to have been able to at least hear the story from you afterwards, and I think
yes.
well you're
Well, I got the one last thing for you, Lucas. Is I
yes,
got a scoop for you. Me and Maria, we've been talking, and we'll be organizing a second edition next year from 6 to 8 October.
okay, nice.
So this time you're in the scoop. You're the first one to know. So if this time you're going to be late registering, it's going to be all on you,
Yeah, yeah, it's
Lucas.
gonna be my fault entirely. Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's really nice to hear, and well, I'm glad you came to that decision, and yeah, I guess the people who watch this whole thing they know it as well. It's
Yes.
and the rest will just have to wait for the announcement, I guess. But
Yes, exactly.
it's I'm happy for you, and it also means that it's been a success for you.
Yes.
So I wish you the best with all the former future like installments, the future versions, whatever.
Yes,
So
absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
I'm gonna say goodbye to you here. But thanks for your story, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks again for having me, Lucas. It was good talking to you.